Hi, welcome to this week's Dragonblade Authors Unplugged. We've got a full house and we've got 3 debuts this week. New series. I'm so excited. There's always something new going on. Thank you. We've got Christine Donovan, Dawn Brower, Addy DuLac, and Katherine Lyons with us this week. Ladies, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us. Well, since we have so many books to talk about, we're going to start in release order. So we're going to start with Katherine's book, which is book 2 in the Rogue's Gambit series, and it's Rules for a Bastard Lord. So can you tell us a little bit about this one? This one has a pig on the cover, right? Oh, no. She froze. Oh, no. Okay. Well, we're going to take a minute and we're going to skip over Katherine and hope that her signal comes back, and go ahead and move on to Dawn. We'll start with your book and then we'll pick Katherine up when it comes back around, because I really do want to know about the pig. I'm 90% sure there's a pig on the cover and the graphic, and I want to know why. So Dawn's book is book 1 in the Havenwood Academy, and it is One Scandal Too Many. And I want to know, what's the scandal and why is it too many?
Well, it's not really. It's more that she got caught in a scandal that involved her brother, and her father decides that she's too. I can't think of the right word. Too
Problematic?
Yeah, that's not really what I was looking for. More like impulsive. Decides she needs to go to the academy to not be so impulsive and not jump into situations that'll cause scandals. So it was like one scandal too many. It just took one for her to get sent away.
Enough to send her off. What's her name? What's our heroine's name?
Charlotte.
Cool.
Charlotte. And so she's she's the first one in the series, and there's a whole slew of students, and you get to learn about some of them. And I was actually reading one of the couple reviews on there, and one of the reviewers wants the headmistress's story, and she's like, I hope we get that one. We don't get it in this trilogy. If it does well, down the road we might write it.
Can you tell us a little bit about who our hero is?
Our hero is a Marquess, and his estate is near the school, and he has a house party, and his mother talks him into having this house party, and they invite the students over for the day activities, and that's how they develop a relationship and connect with the students.
So are all the students at the academy young ladies whose parents want them tightened up a bit, or is there?
Yes, it's unofficial name is the School for Unmarriageable Ladies, because they have all these scandals attached to them.
Unmarriageable seems harsh.
There is harshness in that era.
So do the books all connect through the academy, or are the heroines or heroes related in some way as well?
In the first set, they are connected because all the students are connected somehow to the Marquess and his friends. So there's history there between the Duke and Jacqueline, who will be the final book in this. Well, hopefully it's not the final one, but in the trilogy that we have set up now, it would be the final one. So there's a history between them that it already exists, and it's hinted at but not delved into. It won't be until their book.
Can you give us some hints about what the tropes are for the book?
Well, there's kind of forced proximity, and forbidden love, essentially, because her father doesn't want her to choose her husband. He wants to choose it for her. And he's a reformed rake. So
love those.
One of the opening scenes, the girls are out for a walk and they catch the Marquess and his friends doing their own version of skinny dipping into the pond, where they strip and dive into the pond.
Love an undressed Marquess. There's well, it sounds like a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to this one and to the other books in the series. So what is the next book is
Kissed by Scandal.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that sounds great. Well, we have Katherine back, so we're going to jump real quick before her internet goes out again or the phone falls over or some terrible thing happens.
Well, I'm outside in the rain, so the
Oh, no.
hopefully the signal is stronger. So yes, it's the second book in my Rogues Gambit series. I was exploring humor. So the first book was one of those where the humor starts small and just keeps growing until you get basically kind of ridiculous. In this book, it's a travel book. So the hero, anybody watched the TV show Justified? Raylan Givens. Uh,
Oh, Christine did.
it's an amazing series, but I love that hero who, through no fault of his own, was stuck protecting idiots and thieves. And he was, I mean, so my hero, based on that, he was born on the wrong side of the blanket. And the way he survives is by, being a bodyguard for people who really aren't that deserving. And he comes across a woman who is also doing what she has to survive. And she is convinced against all logic, because her mother told her so, that she is the daughter of, I think it's an earl. And so she hires him again and forces him to take her to, I thought, like maybe there's a marriage license or a piece of paper. No, you actually have to go to the church where they were married and get the priest to sign off that, yes, her parents were legally married and she is the legitimate heir. And it's just, so it's a travel book where he is being stoically heroic and she is just like, look, there, this, I'm not lying to you. And he's like, but the humor comes from a lot of the other characters. In fact, there is a pair of characters that just keeps coming back like a bad penny. And I just love this book. It's a travel book. It's forced proximity, and I will do a little bit of a teaser and say it's possible that she's right and he's wrong. And so
I love that.
all of the nefarious, guilty thoughts he had when she was just, a nobody, now all of a sudden, oh crap, she's actually it's the granddaughter of an earl, because her father has passed on. Mm-hmm. And now, now what? Because he's a bastard. He can't marry the legitimate granddaughter of an earl. So I love this book. I hope other people do too.
I can tell that you love it. You have to tell me why there's a pig on the graphic, though.
Because
it's not like a little pink pig. It's like a big boar kind of here I am kind of pig.
Well, so our hero and heroine both get stuck in, that's where they meet, up is in northern England. And his conveyance gets busted, and so he's waiting as it gets repaired. Meanwhile, she has to come convince him to take her down to London with him. And the nearby pig might escape. And they both have issues with this pig. And so the only way to get the pig back where it's supposed to be, which is like a 500-pound pig, is with a special type of mash that has alcohol in it. And the pig might get a little bit too drunk, because our hero doesn't, you have to be very careful with how much of this alcohol mash the pig eats. And they might both get very, very dirty and then have to bathe.
I had a pig that used to go on walkabout. I actually had to go to court for it. I'm sure they were going to put me in jail for livestock at large, but they didn't. But yes, I can imagine that a drunk pig would be a lot of trouble. So,
well, and I mean, this was me experimenting with, here is a sequence, and what is the most plausible thing I could do that is also the most ridiculous. And yes, trying to muscle not a small pig but a massive pig back to where it belonged took alcohol.
Well, it sounds like a lot of fun both for us and for the pig.
I'm really excited to have it out in the world.
How many more books are there in the series?
At least one more. And then, you know, it's
We'll see what
central
happens.
trilogy. There's room for lots more, but for the
Great.
moment, we have 3 slotted.
Yeah, I love it when series expand, because I love getting to see the same characters over and over again after they get their happily ever after, and you get to see what happens to them afterwards. That's one of my favorite things. So awesome. Well, the next book that came out this week is Addy's book, and it's Miss Thornfield's Daring Bargain, and it's book 1 in the Troublemakers series. Can you tell us about that one?
Yep.
Is she there?
Trilogy, yeah. It's just
Can you
3
hear?
books.
Okay, there you go. Okay, I can hear you now.
I'm here. Can you not hear me?
Mm-hmm. I gotcha.
Oh, she's like freezing.
Yeah,
I-
it looks like your internet is. I can hear you. Just go ahead. I can hear you. We may
No,
not
I
get the
can hear
video,
you.
but we'll get the
I
sound.
was just making sure you
Okay.
guys can hear me. Okay, good. I'm
Well,
here.
good.
Hello. I'm going to try to.
Okay, Addy, we're going to go ahead and skip over
On my
and
phone.
do Christine while you try and figure out if you can figure
Now?
out your. Oh, okay. Well,
so
go,
I'm
give it
gonna
a go
not
then.
move.
I think it's spring, the actual Airbnb.
Okay, it's the first book in the Troublemakers trilogy.
All right. So we've. Addy, we can't hear you. It looks like it's your internet signal. I'm always amazed when it works, because there's so many people from all over the place that we manage to get together and talk. So when the technology works, I'm always kind of amazed about it. But Addy, why don't we take a minute? We'll skip over to Christine and see if you can get a stronger internet signal,
I'm going to try to
and then
log
we'll
in
catch
on my
back up
phone
with you.
and see if the 5G
Okay, that
works
sounds
better.
great. That sounds great. All right. Christine, why don't we go ahead and skip over? Your book releases last this week, and it is Loving an Earl. I love the cover for this one. It's like the colors are just so juicy. And it's book 1 in the Widows of Mayfair. Can you tell us about this series in the book?
The series is about young widows who find second chance love. But the first book is about Lily. She is a vicar's daughter, and she ends up married to her father, who passes away, his best friend, who was an earl, much older than her. And they have about a year's marriage, and he passes away. And when his nephew comes to take over the title of Earl, he is shocked to find out his uncle married, and that he married somebody only 17 years old.
Boy.
And he accuses her of all sorts of horrendous deeds.
Oh, come on.
And well, yeah.
always the
So
woman's
she runs
fault.
off to London to stay with a cousin by marriage who is young and also a widow. And while she's in mourning, they prepare to enter London society again, which they do. And at the first ball of the season, Lily notices a gentleman across the ballroom right away. And she asks Emmeline, who is that? And Emmeline says, do you need glasses? That is the Earl of Langford. He looks so different. And they spend the rest of the season, cat and mouse games, and that's what happens.
Oh, fun. So the series is based on a series of young widows. Are they connected in any other way?
They are. They're friends, and
cool.
all the characters are in all 3 of the books. So
Oh, great. Oh, I love that when we get to see them again.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite
they're
things.
all, they're in all the books, so you really get to know all the characters.
Mhm.
Um,
Awesome.
So yeah, the tropes are a brooding lord, the
Mhm.
vicar's daughter,
Oh, fun.
and enemies to lovers.
Mhm. Yep. I love a good enemies to lovers, especially when they're like when
Yes.
there's a forced proximity thing too. You know, it's like when they can't get away from each other. That's one of my
Right.
favorites.
He feels, the new Earl, Edmund, feels that he's responsible for Lily
Mhm.
because she is still the Countess of Langford.
Yeah.
But Lily wants nothing to do with him, of course. in
Because
the
he was a
beginning,
jerk. He has a
because he was a
redemptioner.
jerk. That's
We need a
right.
good grovel. That's
Yes.
what we need. We need a good
Yes.
grovel.
Right. So they have some good battles.
So it sounds like a lot of fun. And I'm excited for all the debuts this week. Well, we're waiting for Addy to come back. Why don't we talk a little bit about like maybe about that it's springtime, because we're actually recording this on the first day of spring, and I've been very excited about it this year because winter was not my friend, and I'm ready to see things start to come up and grow. And my fish made it through. My tiny little fish made it through the winter, so the spring is already looking better than winter was. But I wondered if you guys had any things that you really look forward to in spring, or do you garden, or is it is it a change of season that you like, or is there something in particular that you look forward to?
Once
I
upon
just
a
look
time,
forward-
I was highly athletic, and now my athleticism is pretty much walks, long walks, and really hard to do when it's 2 degrees outside.
Yes.
So, and I will
The
walk.
watering eyes and like the
Yeah.
it's like not nice. Yeah.
So I will walk in the rain, assuming
Mhm.
I'm not freezing. But
Yeah.
and I will walk in, I don't know, blistering heat. I can't do, but finally getting a break in the weather, I can get out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that too, because I just like I hate it when my eyes will tear up when it's too cold to walk, and then the breathing isn't nice. And now the spring peepers are out, so it's like really, really loud when I walk. I walk near the library, and there's a little water and kind of a little boardwalk path, and the spring peepers are announcing their presence with authority.
I finally got the noise canceling earbuds. Oh my
Oh,
god, they difference. So
oh, I should have those to write with. That seems like a good idea.
yes, that's what I
Yeah.
use.
Awesome. Dawn, you were going to say something. What are you looking forward to with spring?
I was just gonna say I'm just happy to see all the snow melting.
I know you said you had snow this morning, right?
Yeah, luckily it didn't stick, but we woke up to snow falling. Yeah, I was like, yeah, that's a great way to celebrate the first day of spring. Let's not do any more of that.
My son lives in Iowa, and I was complaining about the weather in Virginia, and then he's like, "Mom, it's 3 degrees here." I'm like, "Okay, fine. Stop whining. I'll stop whining." But
Cold is
yeah, I would be
cold.
glad for the snow.
I feel bad for the rest of the country because here in New England, where we're supposed to get a lot of snow in the winter, we did not get much, but everyone else did.
Yeah, the
It was
South
weird.
didn't know what to do with themselves.
I know.
It all came in 1 week. Like we had no snow, and then 1 week we got like 4 snowstorms.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm going down to Florida with my husband for a little vacation in a couple weeks. So I'm
fun.
happy spring is here,
Mhm.
but I love to do yard work and gardening and taking my dog for a walk. That's about, which will be nice because I do not like to walk in the winter outside anyway.
You sound like you're a bikini on the beach spring breaker.
Well, I do live in a coastal town in Massachusetts, so I do spend a lot of time at the beach, but not in a bikini. No,
Oh, come on.
those days are long gone.
I didn't
I don't
wear
think
it
I ever had those
and
days.
I was the right age.
So what are you doing in Florida? Are you snowbirding, or are you
My sister and her husband have a place in Sarasota, and we're going down to stay
fun.
with them
Fun.
for
Fun.
5 days.
Yeah.
So we
that
will
sounds like a
definitely
lot
be
of
at the
fun.
beach and shopping and eating and yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun. You said you garden. Do you just landscape gardening or vegetable gardening?
I do the landscaping. My husband does the vegetable garden. I do all the flowers and the perennials and yeah.
That's nice to have a gardening buddy. I've never had a gardening buddy. That would be fun to have somebody
Really?
to tackle one half of it, you know?
Well, it's good to a point because if I want to plant something, I'll just plant it with the dirt that's there. And he comes over pulling, peat moss and fertilizer. And I'm like, I'm good.
You put the stuff in, it grows. Like, what more do you expect from it? That's the bar.
right.
That's the bar right there.
That's right.
Catherine and Don, what about you? Do either of you garden?
I used to like to grow tomatoes, but I haven't done that in a couple years.
Tomatoes are fun.
Test that told me never garden because I'm highly allergic to something in the grass or in the dirt. And it was like, gee darn, I never garden.
Oh man, I can't imagine being allergic to something in the dirt. Like, how would you protect against that? Can you?
It's actually in the dirt. So
Okay.
I just
So you can sit on the grass and do that kind of stuff and go to the park and all that kind of stuff.
But yeah, I get outside. I just don't like grow things unless I tell someone else, yeah, plant that there. That's good.
So your nails always look good then.
Yes.
Hey, we got Addy back.
I'm back.
Addy.
I'm trying to figure out how to adjust this thing so you're not like looking at the picture above my head or directly at my boobs. That's the plan. I'm like,
that's just fine. As somebody who used to have people looking at her boobs, I think that's just fine. I'm glad we can hear you and see you.
I think I finally figured it out. I was just like, okay, so clearly my laptop cannot be trusted. That thing lies to everybody. Like, you're connected to the internet, and I'm like, that's not what I'm hearing. So, hi.
And your wallpaper is gorgeous. All right, so now while we've got you, and we're going to hold on real tight, can you tell us about the book? It's Miss Thornfield's Daring Bargain, and it's book 1 in the Troublemaker series. And like a series that's called the Troublemaker series has got to have some troublemakers in it.
Yeah, we got some shenanigans. So the first book is with Ada, who's our lead lady. She's half Chinese, half Anglo-British. And she is just trying to have a good time with her best friends. The first one is named Elodia, and the other one is called Regina. Everybody calls her Gigi. And they're all just, they're looking forward to this season. And directly at the beginning of it, her beloved brother, who's her only real family left in the world, goes missing.
Oh no.
And so everything gets turned on its head. And so now she's trying to figure out, like, first of all, how do you just snatch him off the street? Like, this didn't happen what's going on? And as things unfold, she figures out that people that she thought she could trust, she can't. And so her list of allies are growing like thinner and thinner, is growing thinner and thinner at the moment as every day goes by. And until she's sort of left with a situation where she either has to marry somebody and get them protection, find the most honorable man to hand and marry him to get some protection so she can find her brother and keep access to her money and keep a control of her family's business. Or like she could end up sort of shunted off to her racist uncle who wants to take control of the whole thing and will just sort of shove her away somewhere as quickly as possible as is convenient for him. So she's like, yeah, well, that's just not happening. But that stuff's not happening. So I need a plan. And it just so happens that her brother also has 2 other friends, one of whom saw him go missing and is like, I know where your brother is. You can't trust that one guy that you think you can trust. You can't trust him. You need to go somewhere safe. And her friends are like, well, the safest place she can be is with a ring on her finger with a guy that isn't a jerk. So who you got? And then they sort of volunteered him. and and he gets voluntold, and he's sort of like, yeah, my plan was not to marry you. It was just to get you somewhere safe. That was the plan. Because Basil, the problem for them is Basil, well, the problem for Basil is that he's almost engaged himself.
Oh no.
Like the whole reason he's in London is to meet his fiance. His dad is like finalizing stuff between him and this other family.
No.
And his father's a Viscount. And so he's the second son of a Viscount. And his dad's trying to arrange, he asked his dad to arrange a marriage. The dad said, fine. He's about to meet his fiance. And this girl's like, you need to marry me right now. And we need to go to Gretna Green and we need to sort this out. And he's looking at her like, I mean, I want to save your brother and all, but like, this is a lot. So he kind of low-key gets like hijacked in the carriage, and all of them go to Gretna Green because her friends are like, I know you know him, but we don't know him, so you're not going with him alone in a carriage.
They are troublemakers. They're such troublemakers.
They don't even tell their parents. It's literally like three girls who are just like, well, we can't tell our parents because the idea is
people would stop this.
Well, first of all, and the second thing is they're like, if we tell our parents, like, we don't know that they're not going to just give you to your uncle, because that's the most logical conclusion, right? Give you to the next guardian in your family, and that would be your uncle. And it's like, that's the person we're trying to avoid. So they straight up just lie to like what whoever's like parent, whoever's house they're at. They're like, just lie. She's like, I'm just going to lie to my mom. I'm going to tell her we're going on a picnic. So they pack like snacks. And then they're just like, there's a train that leaves at this time, just take a carriage. And they just like straight head, they just take off. They literally hijack a carriage and like get to a train line and they head out.
Snacks and a kidnapping.
That's one of the kidnappings. but Basil maintained. Right. So technically Richard was the first kidnapping. The brother was the first kidnapping. Basil maintains that he was not kidnapped. He made a choice to go along with this scheme. Everybody else is looking at him like, we both know that if you didn't say yes, they were gonna like tie you and put you in that carriage.
Yeah, that's manly framing.
Yeah, they were like, okay. So he was just like, I don't want to talk about this anymore. And so they go to Gretna Green, they get everything sorted out, and then they're like, we need to find your brother, we need to figure out who's doing this, because finding out who it is half the, like, getting the brother is half the battle. The other half is like, okay, but let's make sure nobody else goes missing. Like, make sure that like everything else is sorted out. Yeah. So that's the Troublemakers. That's book one. So book one is shenanigans. It was a lot of fun writing, because it was supposed to just be the girls that were troublemakers. And then as I was writing, I was like, these men have no behavior either. Like, these men are all causing drama in some way, shape, or form. And as it sort of evolved, I was like, I was thinking, Basil's not a troublemaker. He's kind of a rule follower. And then I was like, no, he ain't. because as it got to it, he was just like, I mean, it's a romance novel, right? So then they're ending up together. Mm-hmm. But his situation, the fact that he's sticking by this marriage that was literally just supposed to be a means to an end, because the idea is, once they find her brother and he's safe and everything's sorted out, they'll just get the marriage annulled because they're not consummating anything, right? Yeah. It's pretty easy to annul a marriage, especially a marriage in Gretna Green.
But this is Flameline, so I'm imagining that there's some consummating that goes on somewhere along.
Oh yeah, that happened. Honest to God, up until this point, I've kind of described the first 40% of the book. There's still like stuff to happen, and they absolutely are going to consummate it at some point in time, but it takes some elbow grease to get is it okay if we give like tiny spoilers?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm like, so basically what happens is so Basil's family, of course, is not very happy with the fact that he's done this thing. So because it's on two fronts. The first is that he married this half Chinese chick. And they're just like, where'd you find her? The second insult to injury is she's of the merchant class. So she's just one step, like they're landowning and everything, but she's like one step below Mr. Bingley. Like they haven't divested themselves of the actual like business yet. So they're merchants. They're filthy rich and they have properties all over England and Europe, but they're still merchants, right? So his father is like, first of all, you're making me look bad because I've literally arranged for you to marry another member of the nobility after you asked me to. And now you showed up here with all this. So his dad is like, absolutely not. Like, what are you doing? Who is this chick? He's like, clearly she's a witch. Like, what is going on? And his mother's like, I'm not excited about this, but I'm even less excited about the annulment. Like, if you're gonna do this, at least like
Make it
stand
stick.
10 toes. She's like, stand 10 toes down on it, right? She's like, at least be like assertive about this choice that you're making. But it just ends up, his entire family is just like, what are you doing? And what are you smoking? And put it back. And Basil's position is, I did this to save my friend. And I don't regret it. I regret the necessity of having to do it, but I don't have any regrets about doing what I needed to do to protect my friend and protect his sister and all these things. And then Loki, he started falling in love, and he's just like, also again,
Of course
like,
he did. What choice did he have?
of course, right? I'm like, he went to Gretna Green, the vibes were all there. So yeah, so things get a little finicky, and then he sort of breaks with his family, which kind of leaves him without, as a second son, it kind of leaves him without all the things that make him a good catch, right? Because it's normally family, your position, your family's position, your family's money. If he doesn't have any of that, it's just some dude in England, right? With no real prospects, and some half-finished houses that he's kind of working on. So it's not a great match for her. And so from his position, he's like, she should still get it, and we should still get it annulled because, first of all, that was the agreement. And second of all, I don't really have the thing that would make me a good option for her anymore. And she is sort of sitting down there like, I thought we were getting married. I don't know. She's like, I thought we were doing this thing. Like, we had things have escalated past a certain point. Like, why are we backtracking now? And her brother is sort of like, you're like if I had to pick a man for my sister to marry, it would probably be you because you're the person so he's like, I don't know what the problem is. I don't have the energy for the toxic masculinity and all that drama. So at first he's sort of like, you straight up married my little sister without me being there. Are you absolutely crazy? But then the more he thinks about it, the more it's like, well, what else was he supposed to do? Like, what were the options at this point in time, right? So they have to both sort of convince Basil to like just let it happen. But Basil's very stubborn, and so her brother, who is also a troublemaker, decides there's a little bit of a miscommunication, and he decides to sort of stir the pot and get her increasingly angry until she's just like, well, I'm just going to give him back his wedding ring. And he's like, you should do that. You should do that right now. I'll drive you. And just like takes her over because he knows the truth, but he's just like, it serves my purpose to let you continue to believe this because I know if you get mad enough, you're going to do something crazy. And then he just sort of delivers her to Basil's doorstep and is like, bye, and he sort of runs away. Because nobody has behavior. Everybody's like just sort of trying to survive these 2 sets of
well,
people.
it sounds like so much fun, and I'm so glad that we got you back and got a chance to talk about it.
Yes.
I love a brand new series. It's like a garden with no weeds in it. It's all fresh and possibility.
Exactly. Right.
So.
A garden with a good gardener.
Awesome. Well, ladies, it was a delight talking to you today. I appreciate you taking the time. I love having a chance to meet all of you. I'm going to put the links to all the books in the comments. So if you haven't gotten them yet, you can grab them. Dragonblade books are the very best deal on pre-order and release. Don't wait if you don't have to. But if you do wait, or if you miss something, you can always read in Kindle Unlimited. So thanks so much for taking the time, ladies.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you next week.